Hello, my name is Davis Jackson, and today I'm going to be talking about my open source project. So my project that I worked on was called AzerothCore, which is an open source version of the game World of Warcraft, which is an MMO, massive multiplayer online. AzerothCore allows for private servers and mods with a focus on modularity, stability, and the player experience, whether that be the player itself, the admin, or the developer. It mainly consists of C++ and SQL databases, and the project is around 6 years old and is a major passion project for all people that enjoy World of Warcraft. So the way I found my issue was I went to their main code base, I went to issues, I went to their labels, I looked up good first issue, and here's a list of all their good first issues. So I chose this one because no one had worked on it before, and it seemed very interesting because I was very interested in how the loot was determined for these creatures. So the issue that they had was that a creature was not dropping the correct items and it was dropping them too frequently. And this was a problem because the items they were dropping were rare, which means that they make the game a little bit easier if you're within a certain level. So in order to resolve this issue, I had to do a lot of research on SQL databases and how they were stored for this project. So I found that there was 3 ways that they were stored. In the creature template, which stored things like the creature's health, name, and attack. The creature loot template, which determined where it would reference to get the loot that was dropped, and the reference loot template that would determine what loot was being dropped. So the loot templates follow this structure here of entry, item, reference, and chance, and so on and so forth. So my contribution to the project was that I figured out that the database was referencing the wrong items, so it was dropping the incorrect items. So I replaced the reference with the correct reference, and I reduced the drop rate by a little under half. So one of the important things about this project was that I am not allowed to edit the SQL files directly when they want to change them. So instead, I give them the command as shown below in order to change the file when they do it themselves. So I can show you the pull request right here. And it looks very good. And here you can see where one of my first difficulties came up was that I had accidentally edited the base SQL files, and then they proceeded to show me the correct way to edit the SQL files and how to make sure I didn't get any errors. Which brings us to other difficulties. I expected to go in and work mostly on C++, but instead I was working almost exclusively in SQL files. I had no experience with SQL files and how to edit them, so I got a lot of help from their wiki, and I also got a lot of help from their Discord, which is actually incredible. My pull request, as I just showed, had a lot of problems, but as I said before, the Discord was very helpful, and I also got a lot of help from people on the GitHub site itself. So things that I learned how to correctly use GitHub repositories, which I had never been able to do before, and I always had trouble with it. I learned how to edit and use SQL files. I learned how to pretty much change them using a SQL file editor. The one I used was Heidi SQL because it was the one recommended to me by the people working on this project. I also learned how important an active community for a code base this size is because without that community, I would have had a very hard time completing this project because I really didn't know what I was doing. The only real thing that I would change is probably I'd do more SQL file manipulation research because going into that, if I had known that, I might not have had to rely so much on help with the Discord and the people already working on this project. But in the end, it worked out because the people that worked on this project were very friendly and they were able to help me. And that's it. Thank you for coming to my slideshow.